Good morning, students. Today in science, we are going to start chapter 6, combustion and flame. We will get clear with the terms what is combustion and what is flame later in the chapter. Students, you all are aware of different kinds of fuels used for various purposes at home, in industry and for running automobiles like wood, cow dung, coal, charcoal, petrol, diesel, CNG, LPG, etc. All these fuels, when react with oxygen, it produces a lot of heat. Sometimes, some substances, when react with oxygen, they produce light. Also, along with heat, it can be either in the form of flame or glow. For example, when you light a candle, it burns with a flame. On the other hand, when you will burn coal, it burns with a glow. All these processes can be termed as combustion. So students, how you are going to define combustion? Combustion is a chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat and light. For example, burning of magnesium ribbon and burning of charcoal. And the substances that undergoes combustion is said to be combustible. It is also called a fuel. Now here, see what Bujo says. He says, we were told that food is a fuel for our body. Is it so, students? See, you work so much every day. You go to school, you come home and study, you help your parents in different work, you play and many other things you used to do in whole day. Have you ever thought how your body manage all this? From where it gets so much energy to do all this? Is your body also work on a fuel? Yes, your body works on a fuel, and that fuel is nothing but the food that you eat. The food that you eat is broken down into simpler substances in your body which react with oxygen and a lot of heat is evolved. Now let's deal with an activity 6.1 from your textbook. Students, look around yours, in your surrounding, you will find all substances are not combustible. Substances that undergoes combustion are called combustible and the substances which do not undergo combustion are called non-combustible. In this activity, what you have to do is collect some materials like kerosene, stone, matchstick, straw, glass, charcoal, paper, iron nail, wood, and try to burn these materials one by one. You will observe that kerosene, matchstick, straw, charcoal, paper and wood, all of them burn. So they are combustible substances. Whereas stone, glass, iron nail do not burn and so they are non-combustible substances. Now here comes Bujo. He says, we have read that the sun produces its own heat and light. Is it also some kind of combustion? Students, sun doesn't undergo combustion. It produces immense heat and light because of nuclear reactions taking place in it. You will learn about it in your higher classes in more details. Next, for combustion to take place, there are certain criterias. Means there are certain necessary factors which is essential for the combustion process. Okay, what are they? Fuel. The presence of fuel, combustible substance should be there. Secondly, air, and the third factor is heat, or you can say the ignition temperature of the substance. Let's see, we have already learnt about the fuel or the combustible substance. The substance should be combustible for the process of combustion, as we have just learned that all substances are not combustible. So, for combustion, the very first necessary requirement is the substance should be combustible. Now, we will talk about air. Why air is necessary for combustion? Let's have an activity to learn about it. In your book, 6.2 activity. We have to take 3 lighted candles and we will place chimneys over these candles. In first case, we are going to place chimney in such a way that they will rest over 2 wooden blocks, and so that there will be passage of for the air from bottom as well as from the top of chimney. In second case, we are going to place chimney directly as on the table, and so the passage from the bottom will be blocked and air will pass only from the top of the chimney. In third case, we are going to block the air passage from bottom as well as from the top by covering the top with the help of a plate. Then observe it carefully. You will find in first case as the passage of air is from both top and bottom, so the candles burns continuously. In second case, we have blocked the passage from the top and there is passage only from the top. Block the passage from the bottom and there is only a passage open from the top, due to which you will find the candle will flicker. Okay, it will not burn continuously. There is slight flickering, थोड़ा थोड़ा ऐसा movement होगा candles में, light में. And in third case, as their passage was totally blocked from top and bottom both, the candle flame will start dying, and then finally after some time it will get extinguished. So what we conclude from this activity is that air is necessary for combustion to take place. But air is a mixture of many gases: hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen and many other. So which gas is responsible for combustion? After some experiments done by the scientists, they found that oxygen is the only gas responsible for combustion to take place. Now we will discuss the third necessary condition for combustion, that is supply of heat. Why heat is necessary? It is necessary to heat a combustible substance to its ignition temperature so that it undergo combustion. Let us understand ignition temperature by the help of some example. Have you ever seen a candle burn on its own? No, you have to light it with a matchstick. That means you have to supply some heat. Take another example of wood. Can we burn wood with the matchstick? No, we have to make use of some paper or kerosene oil to start fire. Let's take one more example. Have you seen forest fires? When does this forest fires occur? Does it occur in all season? No, it doesn't occur in all season. It occurs when dry gases in extreme temperature, when the atmosphere, the heat rises, the dry gases in the fire, it catches in the forest, it catches fire, and due to which the entire forest catches fire. So all these examples tells us that different substances requires different amount of heat to burn. More the heat required, more will be the temperature required for the substance to burn. So students, the lowest temperature at which a substance catches fire is the ignition temperature of the substance. Okay, this is the definition, remember. Now to understand ignition temperature, let's have an activity. Activity 6.4 from your book. Take 2 paper cups and keep one paper cup empty and put 50 ml of water in the other paper cup. Heat both the paper cups separately over the candle flame. We will see that the empty paper cup catches fire easily and starts burning. On the other hand, the paper cup containing water does not catch fire. What does it indicate? It indicates that the empty paper cup has reached to its ignition temperature, so it started burning. But the other paper cup with water has not reached to its ignition temperature, as the heat we are supplying is transferred to the water in the cup, due to which the paper cup does not catch fire because the ignition temperature of paper cup has not met. So this activity concludes that the ignition temperature is very much essential for a substance to start burning. So by these 2 activity, we concluded that for the combustion to take place, what all are the necessary factors? What are they? First, the presence of combustible substance, that is the fuel. Secondly, continuous supply of air should be there. And thirdly, the substance should have low ignition temperature so that it can easily catch the fire. Now, moving further, see, we have 2 substances, kerosene and wood. Which substance will burn quickly? Yes, it's kerosene, and wood will take some time to burn. So, heat required by kerosene to burn is less compared to wood. So, we can say that ignition temperature of kerosene is lower than wood. Okay. Substances which have low ignition temperature and can easily catch fire with the flame are called inflammable substances. For example, petrol, kerosene, LPG, all these are the examples. Now let's have a look on the history of matchstick. Does matchstick burns on its own at room temperature? No, it burns when we rub it on the surface of matchbox. Why is that so? It happens so because the ignition temperature of matchstick is higher than the room temperature. So for matchstick to burn, it has to reach to its ignition temperature. So when we rub matchstick to the surface of the matchbox, it gets heated and reaches to its ignition temperature and starts burning. Now, does it mean that if we will rub anything on the matchbox surface, it will burn? For example, if we rub candle on matchbox surface, will it burn? No, it won't. It happens only with matchstick. Why is it so? Initially, the matchstick head is made up of a mixture of antimony trisulfide, potassium chlorate and white phosphorus with some glue and starch. It was applied on the head of the match made up of suitable wood. Whereas the rubbing surface of matchbox made up of powdered glass. In this chemical composition, white phosphorus ignites easily as it has very low ignition temperature, and so it proves very dangerous for the workers who are involved in its manufacturing and for the users also. So nowadays we have only two chemicals in matchstick head, potassium chlorate and antimony trisulfide. Whereas the rubbing surface of matchbox contains powdered glass and little red phosphorus, which is less dangerous and as compared to white phosphorus. Now let's see what happens when we rub matchstick on the surface of matchbox. See, firstly, when we start rubbing, the red phosphorus converted to white phosphorus. Then this white phosphorus react with potassium chlorate, which is present in the head of matchstick, and generate heat in this reaction. Due to this heat, the antimony trisulfide, which is again present in the matchstick head, it ignites and the matchstick catches fire and starts burning. So students, here I will stop today. I hope the concepts are clear to you.